There's two thoughts on the why and then the AI. But the why, I think some of the other industries maybe weren't as quick to adopt this, is I look at the talent pipeline and how electricians have their business structured and HVAC businesses are structured. And there's two things that are in common there that really aren't always the case for roofing and painters, especially. And that's the licensing requirements and the licensing requirements of the people that are doing the work. And so if you think about, what is our pipeline for talent? Like roofing, it's all basically a bunch of mostly old white dudes that are like 50s at their youngest up to 60 plus. And then maybe some newer guys that are a little younger. But like after that, there's not a lot of people under them ready to kind of step in. And when they've set their businesses up, the roofers, the painters, they've used subs that it's kind of like that labor force is just, I get the new labor force when the old one gets too old. Versus if we look at plumbers and electricians, what do you do when you're a guy who's been with you for 20 years? It's a journeyman electrician, master electricians, like all these people that have this wealth of knowledge. Hey, dude, he's busted his ass for 2 decades and that's why his knees are shot and his back shot. Well, he's going to go sit in your office and he's going to be the guy that can help answer the phone call and do these other things.
This episode is brought to you by 10X Nerds. If you're a business owner doing real revenue, there's a good chance you're overpaying in areas you haven't even looked at. Things like credit card processing, insurance, telecom, and more. 10X Nerds comes in, audits your expenses across 30 plus categories, and finds immediate savings. And here's the kicker. They only get paid if they save you money. It's a complete no-brainer. If you want to keep more of what you make, go check them out at 10xnerds.com. This episode is brought to you by my friend Silas Lagoy over at ForgeMark Wealth. If you're a high-income business owner or professional and feel like you're getting crushed by taxes, you're not alone. And more importantly, you're not stuck. ForgeMark Wealth specializes in advanced legal tax strategies and wealth planning designed to help you keep more of what you make, grow it efficiently, and actually build long-term freedom, not just income. If you're making serious money but don't have a real strategy behind it yet, I highly recommend connecting with Silas and his team.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Big Hitters Podcast. I'm on with Chris Diroll, and he is an owner of SMA Support Services. They are an outsourced staffing agency, similar to what we do. And if you have been listening along, you know that I'm kind of obsessed right now with trying to meet with other agency owners because I want to mastermind like the HVAC guys and the plumbing guys. They all go to these conferences and I'm like, why the heck aren't we doing this stuff? So I kind of am selfishly trying to understand, like, what are you guys doing? What's your pricing model? Where are you getting your clients? Stuff like that. Chris, man, tell us about the business. How'd you get started?
Yeah, so we are a back office. We're not a call center. We're back office teams for roofing contractors. And before I got into this business, I was one of those roofing contractors who was along the journey then introduced to them and found them and used them in the roofing business that I was part of the team that was scaling that. And so this is one that I had a connection at an early point when I left that roofing business, essentially deploying a really efficient system with inside-outside sales model with not only an inside-outside model, but more of the inside support is really offshore support with the team member from SMA. And I didn't know it at the time, but it turned out we were one of the few early customers when we joined it. And so along the way, I moved out of that business and into this business because it was one that I just see a lot of opportunity because most people I talk to today just can't fully understand how do we do this? How do we get something like this off of my plate? And there's just kind of a never-ending list of problems, unique problems that people are coming to us trying to solve where it's all similar, but it's all a little different. And that was the part about the roofing business I really liked was, hey, we've got a new problem. How do we build a process to prevent this from happening again? Mostly get my own time back so I could go golf more and hang out with my kids when they got home from school. And so it was like, if I want to be done working at 3:30, but my customers expect me to be working or would like me to work till 7:30, how do I fix this? And this was before AI was really happening on the front end. And so that was when I kind of lived it, that this journey of not only being a contractor, doing this, selling roofs, it was over 2,000 roofs. I don't know the exact number, but it's something where it's like I walked those shoes, but then had a background in engineering that gives me a little bit more of a process brain for how we look at running the roofing business and deploying team members to make your business more efficient. So it's a pretty long answer to the question, but I don't even know if we answered.
You did. I mean, what I heard was that you used to be a roofer and now you serve roofers in their back office. And that's one thing that I love about VAs. I mean, I think that if you are hiring Americans for your back office, unless you have people actually coming into your office a lot, which a lot of people don't, like, you know, the HVAC guys, like, I asked one of my HVAC buddies here, I was like, do clients come visit you? And like, super, you know, occasionally. I'm like, then I would be scaling with VAs. I wouldn't freaking have Americans doing this stuff. I mean, look, it's not a charity, right? We're trying to grow and increase our margin, and I would argue that the quality is better overseas now too. But what I appreciate about that is you're solving a problem for your trade and profession, and you're creating freedom for those guys, which is really, really cool. Where are you guys at? I mean, whatever you feel comfortable sharing in terms of size and scale, number of clients, how many VAs, revenue, whatever you feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah. So yeah, our total team size, we're about 300 employees total, and then about 100 clients total. Then our mix is like between the people in the office and the back office between that 300. But most of that team is in a contracting business. And the cool thing, there's different models for how people run back office teams that are remote, and some of them have shared models and some of them have dedicated models. Ours is all a dedicated model. Our team members are all employees of our business. So it's not like a freelance agency. There are employees. They have all of the government mandated benefits, healthcare, et cetera, 13 months pay. So all of these things that compared to the freelance model, the difference in the industry, the freelance model oftentimes is like, hey, they're going to get paid a little bit more, but there's no benefits alongside of that with them. And so most of our team, frankly, benefits is what brings people to the organization because we're taking care of the people. And so the fact that we can provide good benefits, it helps us really retain our employees better than average for the industry by a good margin, because at the end of the day, it's like I'm able to give people more of a home where they know that it's not just, hey, if this guy leaves and his business goes kaput, like my agency may not have any clients for me. And then I'm just waiting until we get another check coming in. And so our business has kind of been grown out of a roofing business early on that kind of had that same mindset of like, hey, we got to take care of the people, whether they're stateside or over there. And what they really started to see was, even if we do this same amount of effort and take care of people over here, we're not getting the same amount of output or effort back from them as if we give these same benefits to our team members in the Philippines. And a lot of times it's because the work that we ask of these team members to do for back office work, it's super repetitive. It's very process based, but it's boring to most. Like most people that come into a contracting business, they don't want to do the bullshit work. They're like, I want to do the fun part, the selling, the talking to customers, the marketing. I don't want to be pulling permits and scheduling appointments to get the open roof inspections done, or following up with the payment that I sent on Friday and they still haven't paid me. And it's like, now I got to call them and find time to do this. All these little things that just like zap your energy as a person. And so most contractors, they've probably tried it themselves to hire a VA, but they maybe aren't very good at hiring and training and building any process around that in their own business. And so when they've tried it, they're probably said, oh, I tried it once, it didn't work very well, but they're not necessarily letting their guard down and letting their ego take a little bit of a breath and say, hey, maybe I have a role in why this didn't go well. But that's what's cool is like people like me and people like you understanding the industry, understanding how to help these guys see a little bit of this process, and then giving them a person that's more trained in this. So it's not just some person off the street, so that we can kind of hit the ground running.
This episode is brought to you by Corberry Digital. If you own an HVAC, plumbing, electrical, roofing, or home service business and you're tired of wondering where your next lead is coming from, you need to check out Corberry Digital. Corberry specializes exclusively in helping home service companies dominate their local markets through SEO, Google Ads, local service ads, websites, content marketing, and lead generation systems that actually produce a measurable ROI. Their team doesn't just focus on clicks and impressions. They help contractors lower customer acquisition costs, increase qualified leads, and build a marketing engine that scales. What I like about Corberry is they understand the blue collar space. They aren't trying to be everything to everyone. Their entire focus is helping trades businesses win in their backyard and generate more profitable jobs. If you're looking to grow your business, improve your online visibility, and build a marketing system that works, visit coreberry.com and schedule a strategy session with their team. That's coreberry.com. Tell them you heard about them on the podcast. What's up, everybody? This podcast is sponsored by Grimes Financial Advisors. You've spent time and energy building a successful business, but here's the question. Do you have a real retirement plan or just a pile of investments? Our friends at Grimes Financial Advisors specialize in helping business owners and families create a clear roadmap for retirement through their proprietary retirement blueprint. Instead of focusing only on investments, they look at the entire picture: income planning, taxes, long-term care, legacy planning, and making sure your money is actually working for the life you want to live. I've gotten to know Dustin personally. One of the things that I respect most about him is he believes every financial decision should fit into a bigger plan. You shouldn't just chase returns. So whether you're 5 years from retirement or simply want a second opinion on your financial strategy, I highly recommend reaching out to Dustin and his team. Visit Grimes Financial Advisors to schedule your consultation and start building your own retirement blueprint. This podcast is sponsored by Action Coaching. If you're a home service business owner, ask yourself this: are you constantly chasing new leads or just keeping the business growing? Ben Jordan built a $100 million plumbing and HVAC company. Inside the Action Group, he teaches contractors how to create recurring revenue, strengthen leadership, improve sales, and build systems that reduce the owner's day-to-day involvement. Members get weekly coaching, practical templates, proven scripts, and strategies designed specifically for home service businesses. If you want to get out of the truck, build something that runs without you and creates real wealth, check out the Action Group on School and book your free consulting call.
Are you pre-training your VAs on different roles within a roofing company?
Yes. Yep. So that's kind of part of our front end training process, because you don't know, I can't train them super deep on everything that they're going to do until we know which account they're going to. And so it's one where we're going to give them an understanding of, here's kind of what you're going to be exposed to in a roofing business or in a contracting business, and what's the impact that your role makes in their business, and what is it that you can do to help out. And a lot of times these contractors need someone to help point out problems, and also someone to help them be accountable and just remember to do the stuff they were saying they were going to do last week. And so we kind of give them that front end training. And then once we figure out, who's the account that they're going to go to, which roofer they're going to work with, this is where we dive in a little bit deeper into, the softwares that they're going to use, the tech stack that they might touch, the process they're going to be involved in, and get a little bit more specific so that when they hit the ground running, they've got a good understanding of what is the process I'm about to go do for this contractor, and have seen kind of their workflow already and been quality control checked to say, hey, they actually know what they're doing. So if they're using Job Nimbus or Proline or whatever the CRM is that they're using, they've already gotten a little bit of knowledge. So for the team members that if you hire somebody, whether it's freelance or local, what training do you give them? And this is where a lot of times it falls flat for your new launches of a new hire, is like, hey, I didn't really have much to give them. I gave them here's the brochures from the manufacturer, here's some videos, and then ride in the truck with me.
So does that mean, going back to the question, does the roofer choose the VA and then you train the VA for the roofer to some extent? Or do you do like a cohort model where you're training them on different seats in the roofing business before they get hired?
It's more of a kind of level 1 training on the overall, and then we get to like a level 2, level 3 of, hey, this roofer is asking for these tasks to be done. And so part of what we're doing is behavioral screening and personality assessments to make sure, hey, they've got somebody that's looking for a lot of process repetitive work. We want to match somebody who's good and naturally working that way versus somebody who is more of context switching role where they're going to get thrown into a bunch of different things. We want to put a different person in that seat, because this is something I think a lot of people that have tried back office support remotely in the past is they're looking for somebody who can do a lot of different things and kind of flip at any second just to move and shake with the reality of a contracting business. But they get somebody who is very process based, and that contractor may not have a lot of existing process and says, oh, it's kind of all up in my head. So that's where we work and say, we know what your general flow of work is going to be, and then let's build out those instructions and trainings to make sure your team member is fluent in what you need done for those steps in the process, and we'll fill in the gaps by getting some of that from you.
Yep. I had a thought. Oh, are there, something I think about all the time is most of the agencies I've spoken to are just making money on the override. Sometimes they have like a finder's fee model. Um, are you doing anything with upsells like coaching, um, software upsells, like charging 200 or 300 bucks a month for some sort of a software? Are there any other ways that your company makes money beyond just the straight up marking up the hourly rate?
One of the services that we do for a lot of our contractors as part of their onboarding is they're usually looking to switch to a CRM, but they don't have somebody to help them move all the stuff over. And so that's another one that we do a lot of, is helping contractors in the roofing space migrate from one CRM to the other. And we've got a team basically that runs data migrations, because a lot of these CRMs, they can't get into each other's softwares legally. And so we, as the third party, can help them basically go in as a moving company, get this stuff and move it from one system to the other and get it set up. And so we don't do a lot of the strategic coaching and consulting for like the specific CRMs of how do you build out all the architectures of the workflows and the automations. It's more of the moving company. Let us do that heavy lift, get those files, those folders, the things that a lot of people are trying, ourselves included, to use AI to do, but oftentimes no two contractors are set up the exact same way. And so their fields and their files and how they've all set it up, it's still been changed through the years. And so a lot of times it can be some AI supported, but there's just a lot of human kind of automation of moving these things. And so this is a good one for, we're really focused on the roofing space because those are the CRMs that we know. But um, we found it's one of those, it's a good thing for our team members to help with along that journey, just because it brings them in and then we're really fluent in their system. And it's like, hey, who's going to run this stuff for you on the back end? Because you already said nobody on your team ran the last one. And then it's why it got messy. And they're like, shoot, I think I might need a person for that. I'm like, well, how about that guy that just helped move all those records? He's pretty familiar with your guys' process and how all this flows and what you guys do. It's like, wait, and I can fill that gap. And it's we're month to month with our agreements, so it's not a long-term agreement. And so it's nice for them of, hey, why not, let us try it. And then it's up to us to kind of prove it to them that, hey, this is actually working once we launch as that VA. So for the guys that are too small, because that's where you probably see it, where they're like, there's a border of revenue where it's like, hey, as soon as they have a bad week, they're like, Andrew, I got to let the VA go. Like, we don't want those clients coming into our business too early. It's not that I don't want them, I just don't want you yet. And this is where, hey, let me help you with that data migration. That's a big one, is get you set up on the right system that can do things that should be happening to help you kind of close those revenue gaps, lead follow-up, appointment setting, all these types of things that people expect. And then come back to me once you hit a couple $1,000,000, once you hit 3 million. That's kind of where we want to see people before we start working with them, because it's something that they're in a point where they're probably growing and that their bottleneck becomes the people. I need a person to do this process and I don't have that person.
Yeah. Yeah. I know one thing that's been challenging for me is I went from doing something very high margin, which was wealth management and financial planning, and building up the VA company feels like building a freaking rental property portfolio. It's like 500 bucks here, 1,000 bucks there. How long did it take you to feel like your company was like, oh, I can actually like take a paycheck from this thing? And I'm not worried about like a couple clients rolling off and screwing up my month. Like, how long did it take you to really get to that tipping point?
So I was fortunate because when I came into this business as the GM of it, it's like it was already past that point of kind of, let's call it, we were growing enough and we were very tight on what we spent any money on in this business. And so it was one where they kind of had a decent base profit for the size that it was. But most of our business, just as we grew, came from referrals. And so it's like, hey, how did
Is that
we?
still the case, by the way? Is most of your business coming from referral? Yep.
A majority of our business comes from referral. And that's one of those that, like, we've done a better job of building a process to build it into our, client pipeline. Once we've launched, once we've, satisfied those initial, here's what we outline as success. Then where do we go kind of from there? What's the next step?
What I'm curious, one of the questions I get a lot is, and I tell people I run a VA agency and they're like, oh, well, AI is going to take over that. I'm like, well, maybe, like
Yep.
there's elements. I think and I'm curious to hear your thoughts, the $3 to $4 an hour work, the repetitive data entry. Yeah, I think that's going to get replaced by AI. But where I think there's opportunity, Chris, is the absolute savage that comes into your business and just kicks so much ass. She blocks and tackles for you. Like you mentioned, Unique Genius, they're going all in with the EA model. I think Athena has done something similar. I still think you need a human being blocking and tackling for you, putting out fires for you, and you can leverage them with AI. But I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are on AI in the VA space.
So this is one where I would say, if my team is like on the train with me, I'm an engine that is pulling faster than most of them want to go with. Like, we need to be more adopting of it. But it's a good thing because we serve so many clients who are asking us to use the AI tools that they're all using. And the biggest reality we're realizing is that we don't need to adopt any sort of specific AI tool. It's just being fluent in most of how it works, because most of these guys are using it. They would like to use it, but the same reason they haven't changed their CRMs and put in automations and done a lot of these other things is because they don't quite understand how to do it. And so it's like, some of you guys out there listening, it's like, dude, you suck at Googling things, and you were bad at Google, and now you're going to be even worse at AI because you just won't try it. And so this is where having a team member that can go in and essentially talk to that robot, talk to the AI, and has contextual understanding of your business and your process so that you don't have to do it. There is that need. It's like, even if you look at I'm from Detroit, look at the auto manufacturers, at least the ones that they've still kept here. And when they got rid of people from the line that were just literally putting every piece together, and they did put in machinery, robots, equipment, there's still people that have to maintain that equipment. And so if your business is trying to be more automated, trying to be more of a AI forward business, what happens when that machine goes down? You still need that technician who can go in and understand what's going on, troubleshoot. And there's not always a documented process of what's happening here. And so with our business model, this is where kind of a couple levels of management, understanding of different things our clients are working on from a high level, so that if people have questions in that business, their kind of pod doesn't know how to answer this. We've got, some US based team members and myself and another couple folks in the business that came from the roofing industry, and we understand a lot of like, hey, this is what they're looking for. Probably if they're asking me this and they're unclear, they don't really know even what they're looking for. Yeah. And so these guys want AI, but they still need that person, and it's not them that's going to be the one to build it. So
That's exactly my vision, dude. That the blue collar guys love technology, they love AI, but they don't know how to leverage it, and they're not going to sit down to do it. And so my vision is the VA is the bridge, right? You need the Formula One car, and you also need the driver, right? And so I think that the VA is the driver, and I also think there's an opportunity to enable the VAs with AI, like teaching them automations, Claude co-work, stuff like that.
yep,
What are you guys doing for sales? Do you have sales overseas, or are you doing sales as mainly people in America?
people in America. And so it's like the main thing for our industry is really events, and whether that's some of the bigger shows or some of the smaller shows that happen regionally. This is where we are now at that point when you talk about like that phase of like, when are you paying yourself? It's like, okay, when do you have enough money to pay for the roadshow person, the full-time person to go
There you
out and
go.
do that?
Yeah.
And when we look at this business, like, I did this along the way where it was like, before I moved into the GM position, it's like I was basically selling for the company 1099 in it and trying to help build this up till we could get it to, hey, now we have enough here that you get that salary. And so for us, it was just kind of like outlining that plan of, here's what the revenue needs to be. We know what we need to do to control costs. And once we can hit this bridge, now it's self-sustaining enough that we can make that jump. And so for us, it's like the next phase is now, how do we go from me being the guy on the field who frankly sucks at setting appointments because that's not my personality style, to getting our person who is really good at this, and getting her out on the road. Like, this is that next step for us. Is that's where we're getting more of our business from, is in-person events, because of the networking aspect. Frankly, this is where you meet people and where we start to learn a lot more about what else is coming around the space for technology, tools, ideas. And for a lot of these owners, they're not going to go to 6 or 8 or 12 or 20 trade shows about roofing through the course of a year, where we are. And so there's always a little bit of a pulse that we keep on our business and what's going on in the industry, so that we can help contractors deploy this more easily and say, hey, here's an idea that you could do it with your existing tech stack. You just maybe need somebody to do a couple extra steps to make that idea work. We could do that for you. And that's kind of the value we bring by, really focusing on the roofing industry first to get to where we are today and the size that we're at. And we're starting to look at other markets, but at the same time, we still have a lot of untapped potential in the roofing market that we haven't spoken to yet.
It's a huge industry, dude. Like every time I turn around, I meet another roofer. It's insane how many freaking roofers there are, especially in Texas. It's
Yep.
crazy.
Yeah. Texas,
And
Colorado, Minnesota. It's like there
all
is
my friends in Colorado are hurting, dude. We haven't had a decent hailstorm here in a couple of years.
we'll see what this El Nino is bringing this summer, because it's like that. They keep seeing this is happening. So I expect like there's going to be some markets that get slammed this year with hail, but it's kind of, they're all sitting and hoping for something to happen.
It is interesting, man. I think about this a lot because my favorite is pest control, and I love talking to those guys. Half of them are Mormon, which I find super interesting. I studied world religion in college, so
Oh, cool.
and you talk to pest control, roofers, and painters. They are on the VA thing. They get it. Like all their friends are using them. If they haven't hired one yet, they're like, "Oh, my buddy has one. I've been meaning to get one." So the soil is more fertile, so to speak, with those industries. But then if you look across the blue collar space, there's so many other ones, like electrical. It's not really a thing. HVAC, it's kind of becoming a thing. You know. Um, so there's still so much opportunity. So I feel like the demand, when you talk about the AI stuff, but the demand for VAs is growing. Like it's like all these conferences, like, oh, we need a VA vendor there. Like we need one there because we're going to teach them to do this rehash campaign that only we teach them how to do. You know, there's almost crisp and like a suck back with the AI stuff too. Like we tried the AI receptionist, it didn't work. So we're going back to a VA or a human being. You know.
Well, there's two thoughts on the why, and then the AI. But the why, I think some of the other industries maybe weren't as quick to adopt this, is I look at the talent pipeline and how like electricians have their business structured and HVAC businesses are structured. And there's two things that are in common there that really aren't always the case for roofing and painters, especially. And that's the licensing requirements and the licensing requirements of the people that are doing the work. And so if you think about, what is our pipeline for talent, like roofing, it's all basically a bunch of mostly old white dudes that are like 50s at their youngest up to 60 plus. And then maybe some newer guys that are a little younger, but like after that, there's not a lot of people under them ready to kind of step in. And when they've set their businesses up, the roofers, the painters, they've used subs, that it's kind of like that labor force is just, I get the new labor force when the old one gets too old. Versus if we look at plumbers and electricians, what do you do when you're a guy who's been with you for 20 years? It's a journeyman electrician, master electricians, like all these people that have this wealth of knowledge. Hey, dude, he's busted his ass for 2 decades, and that's why his knees are shot and his back shot. Well, he's going to go sit in your office, and he's going to be the guy that can help answer the phone call and do these other things. And so there's a lot better way, because they have, let's call it, even higher levels of, I'll call it training to get to the level that you're a field tech someday. That knowledge, you stay in the industry then, versus in the roofing industry, it's like maybe you just peel off and go somewhere else. And that labor force generally isn't the ones coming in to help with the office space. And so I think that's why VAs are more popular there. But it's the same issue we're seeing now, is we're missing out on people going to trade schools, and it's not as frequent. And so they're starting to feel like, hey, where do we get somebody that I can afford that's less than $30 an hour to actually get some work done in my business? It's like, I don't know what to do, because I can't find Americans that want to do my office work for even $30 an hour.
Gun to my head. would never hire an American for admin ever, 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 ever. You know,
It's
just
if they
I
if they
had him.
can't be
I
in the
had him for my
field.
yeah. Uh-huh. I had him for my wealth management practice. I had 3 Americans. It was costing me 150 to 200 grand a year. And I would be like, hey, can you find me a date night spot for me and my wife? And they're like, ugh, beneath me. And it's like, when you look at it with W-2 and payroll and 401k match, a $50,000 employee is 80 grand. And so like my executive assistant, Angela, in the Philippines, a whopping $7 an hour. She's the best admin I've ever had, dude. She crushes it. And she'd be 250 grand, 300 grand stateside, like how good she is. And so when you get one like that, and then knowledge is free now, like just go drop them into the Service Titan trainings and go watch every freaking webinar on Job Nimbus, and go onto YouTube and see how people are building out automations. Like they'll go do it. And
That's
so it's
that's
just
I'm
like
sure
it's a new world.
you've had people probably say it's like, well, how are you going to train them on that? Like if you've never done this before, I'm like, you've never been on the internet? Most
Yeah.
of these software vendors are all building stuff for you to be able to learn
Training
how to do
libraries
it.
are robust. Yeah,
Yeah.
super robust. So you can, if you wanted to be on a software training, you could be on one every hour of every day. Between YouTube and the webinars they're hosting and their training libraries. So you find the right one, man. He'll go into the Service Titan library and he'll learn how to build out the automations. But it is more common now. It's easier to find someone with experience in those tools because it's becoming more prevalent. Real estate obviously is the easy one. It's like every realtor has had a VA or knows about a VA. But the blue collar space, it's becoming easier to find someone who has been an estimator for flooring. Like that's not that hard to find now,
Yep.
The recruiter
Another,
has been an interesting one to me, because that's the pain point for these guys. I don't know if you've placed any recruiters for roofers, but I've started talking about that recently. You need a VA recruiter, and it's been working really well.
so
And
what,
that's
like
been
for
like,
sales positions, canvassers, like tell me more about that. That's
yeah.
interesting.
So I had an epiphany. I was talking to a $15 million plumber in Idaho, and he was like, well, I don't need an executive assistant. That's my favorite one to do. Is the EA that really kicks ass for you. And I was like, well, what's your biggest pain point right now? He's like, techs, we just can't find them. I'm like, well, what if I could clone Abby is my recruiter. What if I could clone Abby for you? And I'm like, there's got to be more Abbies out there. And so we started finding, we found there's a huge applicant pool there's tons of US companies that are using recruiters in the Philippines. So we got him. His name was Jurgen. I think our markup was like 3K, but still Jurgen's been balling, dude. He's been finding him skilled labor. So that was an interesting one. I had an epiphany. I was like, shoot, that's their biggest pain point. Why can't I help solve that with a VA?
You made me think of something that that I experience, that most of our contractors overcomplicate the role and the requirements for what that really looks like. Because when we think about recruiting, some of our VAs are doing recruiting for these guys, but the way it works in the roofing industry for a lot of them, if they're using subs, they have subs that if the subs are going out calling good Google business profiles, they're looking on the reviews, finding lots of reviews because that means they're busy, they got a lot of work. And subs are calling into offices saying like, hey, you got any work for me? And so setting up a process where it can be very simple of, hey, send me your workers' comp, send me your this, whatever your list of things before I even want to talk to you, that I'm going to know if you're an idiot or not right out of the gate, pre-screen it, and then keep those guys in that file of like, we don't need somebody yet, but we'll call you if we do. Give me your addresses where you put some installs on. Give me some addresses where you're going to put some installs on so I can go take a peek in an unmarked car and see how the job site looks when you guys are out on site. And so helping you as an owner build that process. So it's like, hey, during your day tomorrow, you've got 3 sales appointments, your production appointment on site, and then just drive by that job site and go take a look at how it looks from across the street. And like, these are things where most of these owners are like, oh, I got to get a recruiter for this. It's like, no, dude, you just need somebody to help you, collect some paperwork, hand you over the good stuff that you've told him or her, like, here's what kind of qualifies as what I want to see in the first point. And then you need somebody who's responsive to that applicant to your business, because why the hell do they want to work for somebody who they apply for a job and then it's 2 weeks before they hear from you? And then you're like, oh yeah, what, you've already had 4 interviews? Oh, well, come to me. He's like, never mind, I already got this covered. And so like, that's awesome that you're doing that, because again, like we don't have the skills, the trade knowledge yet for those types of things to getting into the HVAC world of what they look for. And that's super helpful for these owners because you're buying back so much of their time at such a low cost.
Yep. Yep. Okay, put us on some game real quick. Last like few rapid fire questions. Where should roofers be using VAs right now?
First one should always be estimate follow-up, rehashing with a phone call to every old estimate you've ever sent out and every lead that's ever contacted you. If you don't have somebody doing that, your conversion rates are probably lower than they should be.
All right, what's the next spot?
The next spot I would say is permits. Almost every business has a process that needs permits pulled on every job, and most of them are more just of a notification or, hey, fill out the information, pay the fee, and then notify the city when the work is complete so that they can either come out and do an on-site or final out the permits. So if you as an owner are spending time doing your own permits or wasting time in your truck coordinating this, you're hemorrhaging dollars of profit in your business. And
What's
then
the last spot? What's like the third or fourth spot that they should be using VAs?
the big one is their accounts receivable and collecting their money. Because if you do not have a dedicated person in your business to call those homeowners who haven't paid you yet, once you've sent them a bill, this is something that is draining you emotionally as an owner because it's something you're not wanting to do. You'd rather do other things, and you know it's money that you need to bring in, but it's also something you don't want to do. And so if you have somebody in your business that can follow a very simple process to just make sure they know that the invoice was sent, and then someone to follow up at a specific cadence so that you get the money that you're deserved for the good work you just did, this is where you're leaking dollars.
Yep. I tried VAs before and they were terrible. Like, how would you respond to that one?
Thankfully, I'm not our salesperson anymore for this type of stuff, because I would be like, that's not a VA problem. That's probably a you problem. And
Yep.
that's the reality of it. Is most owners, they're really good at the hands-on part of their business, the sales part of their business, but delegating and handing things off is not as easy. And even though they've delegated their labor, and it's been easy to say, hey, go put this roof on for me, Mr. Subcrew, they don't understand how somebody could also prep the estimate in the office so that their sales team doesn't have to, or that they don't have to. And so it's like, why not? It's like, well, I don't have an instruction list of what needs to happen. And that's why it failed, just because they didn't have good instructions. It wasn't because they are bad, their process is bad, or the person's bad. They just had no or bad instructions to start.
The three big ones I hear are language, security, and time zone. How do you address those concerns?
Language is easy because in the roofing industry, let's be honest, it is not white people putting on the roofs in most of these environments. And so most of the crews across the country, there is some level of accents or language barriers that pop up. And for most of these businesses, if you know that you need a very customer facing lead development, business development role, you can recruit for people like that. They exist. It's very easy to get. And frankly, most of the people that we recruit, a lot of the stuff that we do in the front end, they're passing some metrics of, hey, does this person sound good on the phone, language comprehension skills. So it's all in the recruiting process and screening process to get people who are good on the phones. But once they're customers in your pipeline, most of the times they really don't care as long as people can understand them and they understand your process and are knowledgeable about it. They want to know, hey, I got my answer. I know what's going to happen. And so the English aspect, if there is a little accent, it's not the issue, provided you have that right knowledge to make them seem as a good representative of your business.
Yeah. By the way, little cheat code, I'll drop some game on you. I found this tool called Crisp AI. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a real-time accent conversion tool. It does a few things. One, it's an AI note taker, but it's not in your meeting. So like right now, my Crisp is recording, which is cool. The other thing it does is I could literally be running this podcast at a coffee shop and you wouldn't hear any background noise, which is pretty cool. But the third thing is they've built out an accent conversion tool. And I tried this. I had a girl named Kier on my team. She was a dog, but had a really thick accent. And so I had her try it, and she sounded straight up American to me. It was kind of crazy. Like little half-second delay. And my partner, who is Chinese American, she was like, "Oh, that's racist." And I'm like, you know what? I think the VAs would just like to get paid. And so if that means it gets a better job, then I don't think anybody's going to have a problem with them. So Crisp AI, little tool there. Yeah.
Well, and I think this is where people are asking, like, well, what's AI going to do to my business for VA standpoint? I mean, that's our way to delegate labor. I can get labor done cheaper by a software now than I could by a human, and I can get it done 24/7. And so most of the people I work with already have most of the tools that they can enable, or there's ones that are out there to get that kind of low hanging fruit with it.
Yep. Chris, where can people go to learn more about you and your business?
Yeah, they can go to smasupport.us, or they can look us up on Facebook or YouTube, SMA Support. And our YouTube channel, we're one of the big things. This is what I recommend to every contractor out there. Before somebody's going to buy from your business, they're probably going to learn about you, learn what you do, learn a little more. And so we've done a lot of videos and are working on a consistent basis to build educational videos that, hey, if you don't know what to do, let me explain what process you should be doing. And then if you need the person, this is where we can come in and help, but you don't necessarily need us for it. But when you do, we're here. Until then, here's a checklist of what you should be focused on. And one of the videos that we have on our YouTube is like, here's the 5 things you should do first. And we just talked through 3 of those here. So check that out. I think it's a good video. It is no pitch in it. It's all just, here's your guidebook of how to go collect an extra $1 million if you're doing $3 million a year already.
Love it, man. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast. Don't go anywhere because I want to keep talking, but thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great talking with you, Andrew.